Hello everyone, welcome to my online class. My name is Carol Weekland. I'm an author, a healer, and a fairy whisperer, and I work with Morgan and the Fairy Sisters of Avalon. And today we want to talk to you about flower fairies and just introduce you to them. And I'm coming to you from a wonderful forest that is filled with bluebells right now. You can see them in the background, they're all around me. And this is the time of year, we're in early May. This is May 3rd, 2019, where you can see this gorgeous flower in full bloom. And I'm going to go actually down close to one of them right now and just show you the beautiful color. Now, this color actually links this particular flower to the fairy godmother realm. And all the fairy godmothers, are of this particular tone. So what we need to realize when we're talking about flower fairies is that every flower has a fairy in it. That is the fairy essence of the flower. So for instance, if we're going back down and looking at these flowers, you can see that you have the stem and the leaves, and then the beautiful, beautiful blossoms. All of that section is kind of overlooked by a major flower fairy or spirit, which is the essence of the flower. And then you have worker fairies that come in and create the beautiful blue color of the flower blossoms, the scent of the flower. And so, for example, if you're out walking in nature and you're greeted by this most magical scent, that is a flower fairy actually reaching out to you, wanting to connect with you. And they're saying I'm going a little too far too fast, so we're going to go back to the very beginning right now. So, what is a fairy? A fairy is a nature spirit that is commissioned by the divine to act as a guardian to either a flower, a tree, a plant, an animal. And they're here to help that aspect of nature, that animal, that plant, that flower, that tree, without actually telling it what to do. So they will offer guidance without forcing, an opinion on that creature. And it's just like we have a guardian angel. Every animal, for example, has two guardian fairies. And so it goes throughout nature. Now, the flower fairies belong to the earth fairy category. So all fairies are elementals. They are basically aligned to either earth, air, water, or fire. And you can imagine, as you look at this forest full of bluebells, you see, of course, that they are rooted deep into the earth, and they gain their magic from the earth fairy kingdom, and also their special uniqueness. So every single flower that we see in this setting, some bluebells have pinks in them, some have white in them, some are that fairy godmother blue. I'm also wearing that color today. I don't know if you can tell. It's kind of raining right now as I'm doing this video, so it's a little overcast. Um, but all of those unique qualities come from the earth fairy kingdom, and they have a monarch, and the monarch presents as masculine and as Gob, Ghob. Now they're wanting me to pause and say that fairies are saying show the flowers, so I'm going to back up and show you a little bit more of the flowers. All fairies are energy beings, so they really don't have a form until they decide to take one. And they can basically take any shape right now. The birds you hear chirping behind me, it could be a bird, it could be another person, it could be sparkles of light, it could be an orb. These are all possible ways in which fairies manifest. And it's good to keep that in mind when you're working with the fairy kingdom, because they might not come across as that beautiful little Tinkerbell with the wings, although they can, especially flower fairies. They tend to take very beautiful forms, as beautiful as the flower. Now, also, as we look at the colors right now, the beautiful blue, The color of the flower actually shows you how it is aligned to your chakra system. So, for example, the blue flowers are linked to any blue that you would have in your chakra system, which is always the throat chakra. And this is a pastel, very translucent kind of blue, and this is very much in line with the ascension blue that we are moving through and towards. What do I mean by ascension? If you're new to this idea, the earth is going through a magical transition from third dimension to fifth dimension. And they want me to pause and say that fairies are fourth dimensional already, but they are also transitioning with us to the fifth dimension. So we're going from a dark, fear-based society to a world that's filled with love and light and unity consciousness. And this is very much what the flower fairies incorporate in their daily lives. Flower fairies are absolutely filled with joy. And you can see that as you look out at these gorgeous flowers. They just make you want to smile. They wanted me to come to you through a field of bluebells right now because this is a non-manicured setting. Quite often when we want to talk about flowers, we'll go to, a very manicured garden. And you still do have fairies in there. But here the fairies can truly shine. They don't have pesticides. There are not negative means of gardening by pulling the weeds up by the roots and such. This is nature at its finest. And as you can hear, we just have the birds agreeing with us all around us. It's just a very magical setting that we're in this light rain right now. Now, some of the other things we want to go through is about fairies and mortality. Most people think of fairies as being immortal. And indeed, if you are in the air fairy, the fire fairy categories, you are. Basically, you live forever. However, the earth fairy category, that is not true. And it's not true for the water fairy category either. And so, for example, when these flowers spend themselves in a few weeks or so, that flower fairy will die with the flower. And it's a process where they actually break down the flower. So they stay with it as the flower is decomposing. And then they go back to the Creator and are then born again. So it's a continual process. So they would like me to talk to you about, they're saying go lower. I'm right next to a tree too. But as I go lower, perhaps you can see the flowers better. They're wanting me to talk to you about bringing flowers into your house. So a lot of people would like to cut flowers, for instance, roses, and then bring them into their house. And this does bring about the death of the flower and the flower fairy. Now, what they want me to stress is that you should actually ask the flower and the flower fairy ahead of time, I would love to bring you into my house. Would this be possible? And then if you receive an affirmative, a yes, then you should go ahead and cut the flower and bring it in and honor the fairy, the flower, and then partake of its beautiful energy. Flower fairies, as I said, are so high energy and so positive and joyous. They bring that into your home and you can learn so much from them. Now, every single flower has a basic lesson that it is here to teach, and the fairies embody that. So as we look out over the bluebells, as I mentioned, they are connected to the fairy godmother realm. And as a result, they basically are very much about the manifestation of wishes and bringing that forth through your means of communication, however you bring that forth to the world. What kind of gifts are you sharing? This is part of the lesson they teach. They also teach us about music and song. Now it's really starting to rain, so I'm going to pause the video for now and I'll come back in a bit. He told me to keep going even in the rain, so we are. We're going to finish this introductory section. So, as we was saying, every single flower has a special gift it wants to share with the world. And that's what we're going to be learning about here in this beautiful online class. So we're going to learn about each of the different flowers and their gifts. We'll learn techniques of flower fairy gardening, how to create your own fairy garden. And this is not just one with statues. This is one that truly uses fairy principles to make it a truly blessed fairy garden. We're going to learn about flower-infused teas, how we can actually take that fairy medicine and magic and incorporate it into our lives. And we just have so many beautiful things to share about the flower fairies in this video online class. So I want to thank you for coming and being a part of this experience. And now I'm going to bid you farewell on this rainy day in this bluebell field. And I'll be back with segment 2, Fairy Blessings.